Good afternoon. This is Kristen Welcome, your hostess with the mostest of River Bottom Radio Show and OutlawReview.com. And today I'm here with the grandson of a legend. This is Thomas Gabriel, who is the grandson of none other than Johnny Cash. How are you doing today, Thomas?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I wanted to take the time, of course, talk to you about that legacy, talk to you about your music, and also I know you've got show dates coming up here with Way Jennings as well.
Right, we do. We got the the next one is Ohio. That's here in a couple of days, and then we've got several after that. But we had our album release the 23rd of August, 24th of August, sorry, and we've been on the road promoting that, and then Way and I did a show in Nashville together, and it went really well. So we decided we would do that more often because, well, we had fun doing it. You know.
So tell me a little bit about how you got your start in music.
I started in the early '90s. Actually, I was working on an EP, and it was going really well, I thought. And I had taken it to my grandfather and asked him. I said, "Do you mind listening to this and tell me what you think?" And I was, of course, hoping he was going to come back and say, "This is the best thing I've ever heard. And we're gonna run with this." You know, that's not what he said. He came back and said, "Well, you're too young to be putting all your efforts into music right now. You know, keep it up, keep working at it, but I want you to get a career or college or whatever behind you first." So that was that was not what I wanted to hear, but I went and did that, and went and was a police officer for 8 years, and then after that went to prison for a while. So I got a little sidetracked, and when I was in prison, I started writing again and playing again. And when I got out, which was in 2013, I started from the day I got out, started working on lyrics and arrangements and making connections, and now it's going really well. We're really proud of the new album, and we're right in the middle of a tour that started a couple months back, actually, and we've been all over the West Coast. We've been to Ireland, and we're getting ready to go back out west here at the end of the month and into next month.
So talk to me about the most recent album release. What's one of your favorite songs off that album and why?
Oh, I think it depends on what mood I'm in. uh, I'm partial to the ones that I wrote. I've got writing on about half of the album, but I also enjoy. One of my favorites is Instant Release. It's one of mine, but just because I know what it's about and where I was at when I wrote it. And then Cell is another one of my favorites. It's kind of a dark album, so it's not really something that you want to just on a spring day pop it in and go down the highway with your wind blowing. It's maybe it is for some, but it's kind of a theme, from childhood until now and everything that's gone on. And so the next one I think will be a little bit lighter than this one here. It's 11 songs, and they're all original. And yeah, we're really proud of it.
Where does your inspiration for writing come from?
I think when I'm kind of at a low, I tend to write a lot more. I think most people kind of do. Rarely am I just in an upbeat, happy mood and sit down and go, "Man, I gotta get a pen." It's usually the other way around. But as far as inspiration goes or anything like that, it just depends. But my grandfather was obviously a huge, he didn't just push me as far as music or writing goes. He was, as far as being a person, he made me. He really tried to get me to think on a different level, like see things that, from the outside of the box type thing. And I think that that's always kind of stuck with me. So I kind of do that. But as far as listening to other artists or anything like that, I mean, maybe Steve Earle or even my grandpa's music is a big influence on me.
Now, have you?
I don't know your question, but
I think that answered it perfectly.
I'm going in the middle of national traffic at the same time, so it's just not exactly the. When I'm diverted, I got the ADD bad, so when I'm preoccupied, it comes out a lot slower than what it should have. What are you gonna say?
That answered it perfectly. Have you always imagined that you would be a country music singer, or did you come to that later?
Oh, never. I never thought. I always knew I'd be in music. I never thought it'd be country music though. Well, especially with the genre like it is now, as far as quote unquote country music goes, I've always been and still am. I mean, like I've got a helmet in my CD player right here in my car. I mean, I listen to metal and harder rock and stuff like that. So I don't even listen to country or anything of it. But when I go to write, what comes out? Well, I don't even know if it's country. I don't know what it is really. It's my grandfather said he was a folk singer, and I guess what my stuff is kind of more country, blues, rock. Maybe even some folk. I don't know. He did a lot of ballads, whereas mine is more internal. So I never thought I'd be a country music singer, but I always knew I'd be in music. Yeah, since day one.
What do you think is different about your music, and what do you think is the same about your music as music that your grandfather created?
Oh, well, his songs were longer. I know that. No, I don't know. I think that I got asked this the other day, and I think that maybe if he was to say come on the scene present day instead of the 50s, say if he was to come out now, I like to think that maybe what I'm doing would be similar to what he would be doing. I like to think of my music kind of in the same vein as more like continuing tradition instead of. I mean, there's no copying by any means. I mean, we're not even. Our music isn't even really similar. I don't think. Maybe a couple songs from like the American recordings, but nothing else. My stuff is a little more. I don't know. I don't even know the label put on it, but I think that if he was to come out now, that we would be a lot more similar as far as our styles and our writing goes. He wrote about prisons and sang about prisons and the hardships of life and all that. And I went to prison and wrote songs, so it's kind of like the next the next step, I guess. I don't know.
I certainly think so. You certainly have had an interesting background. Obviously growing up with having Johnny Cash as a grandfather, having been a police officer, and then you find yourself in that system. So
yeah,
talk to me a little bit about
same time I was a cop. Almost the exact same time I was a cop, I was in prison. So it kind of evened out. Saw both sides of that coin.
Most people don't.
Sorry,
so you must certainly have some reflections or some insight that a lot of people won't have because, you're either usually on one side of the tracks or the other.
Yeah, I definitely have some insight. That's a good way of putting it. If you want to talk about inspiration for songs, yeah, check out my life. It's been quite a ride. I grew up on the road, on the buses and planes, and seeing the back end of this this monster of you know, showbiz, this circus of showbiz. You know, and that's what it is. It's a big circus, especially when you're a kid. You're trying to figure out just what all this is. And the instability of the road and the just everything that goes along with that. And then all of a sudden, you start growing up, and your perspective of everything that you've been watching happen since birth is now starting to make more sense, but in a different way. And then when it comes time for you, or for me rather, it was on me before I knew it. As far as my addictions, as far as my the similarities that I had genetically with my family, as far as chemical problems and music and everything else. It kind of snuck up on me before I knew it. But all of those experiences, and it's got me where I'm at. So, the end result is is sitting right here, and I think we portrayed that really well on this last album. As far as getting across the message of just what makes me tick, I think.
Well, you can't write it if you haven't lived it. So certainly a life that's lived, a little bit more with challenges definitely makes for good songwriting, I think.
Yeah, it does. When you get so far into your head, and you get so overwhelmed with the emotion that you're not prepared to deal with, never were prepared to deal with. You tend to come out with some pretty interesting things.
Now, Marty tells me you've done some recording or some playing in Nashville, so I imagine you have an opinion on popular music and where country music is kind of as far as on the radio right now.
Yeah. I didn't like the changes I saw in it before I left, but when I was gone, basically a decade, and came back, I just didn't recognize it. And there's a lot of really great musicians out there. I'm not saying that. There's a lot of really great artists. There's some really talented people out there. I don't think that I'm not giving credit where it's due, but there are some others that I just cannot believe are on the radio. And the things that they're saying it's so, I don't know, just it's numbing. And I came back from prison, and I remember getting in the car and listening for about 30 minutes, listening to the radio, just kind of paying attention to what it was about, and it had no content whatsoever. And I just thought how disappointed that the generation that I grew up with would be. I mean, I grew up around, the diamond-studded stars. I grew up on the back, in the backstage of the Opry and everything else, and I just thought, I don't even recognize this. That's what the song "Twain Town" on my album. That's basically what that's about. That I would really like to see, and there is a movement. There is a if you want to call it outlaw movement, or you want to call it something else. It's a matter of bringing back what it was supposed to be, and I like being a part of that. And don't get me wrong, my music isn't exactly traditional country by any means, but it's sure not bubblegum either. It's not, and this pop and you got 45-year-old men singing for 15-year-old girls, and I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's a business. I mean, if that's what you like your business being, then and you're good at it, then sure, go ahead. But it doesn't. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan.
Well, certainly, we are big fans over here of outlaw music, of music that is played people care about the musicianship. They care about what's being written and what's being said. So I can certainly
Right.
agree with you.
Yeah, I just, content, when you listen to a song, it's supposed to be palatable on every level. You're supposed to be able to you like what you hear. You've got a good beat or a good melody or whatever. You've got words that can either inspire you or that you can relate to, and then you've got something that later on you want to hear it again, or you sing it all day long, and something that sticks with you, and not just because it's cute
Right.
or it's catchy. Man, if anybody ever says, "Man, that's a really cute song, Thomas," I think I'll just quit right then. I just I'm not looking for the cute. Watch, I'll get cute now every once in a while.
Right.
Saying that, but
Just to mess with you, somebody will post on your Facebook. That's a cute song.
yeah, how quaint.
Yeah, right. Now, of course, you've got the show dates coming up with Way Jennings. Talk to me a little bit about what fans can expect, and especially fans of your grandfathers. If they come to a show.
Yeah, I do my whole album on on uh, on my show, and then I also do some of my grandfather's songs. People want to hear them, and I want to keep them alive. But it's not that he needs my help to keep them alive by any means. He did that on his own, but I like paying tribute myself. As far as Wade Jennings goes, if you've ever heard him, I love listening to him sing. I think he's got a fantastic voice, and it for me anyway, it brings back listening to Way. Oddly enough, brings back my childhood because I used to sit there and watch both of our grandfathers. I went on one of the Highwayman tours. I've been on. I spent quite a bit of time around Waylon actually, and so hearing him sing really, it's refreshing for me. And he's got just a fantastic voice. But getting together with him and knowing that it's that unsaid bond. It's like we don't have to say it. We don't even have to acknowledge it, but we know that we got something in common that a lot of people do not have, and good, bad, and the ugly. And so I really enjoy getting with Wade, doing shows, and putting it back out there, bringing substance back to a genre that needs it. I just enjoy watching his show. I would go anyway just to watch his show. I just think that anybody that comes in, the one thing though is I don't like it when neither one of us like it when we get labeled as, well, riding on grandpa's shirt, tailcoats, or trying to imitate grandpas, or they're trying to, it's art. The fact of the matter is it's been done once and it was done right. That's not what I'm about. What I'm about is that genetically, yeah, I kind of got a similar voice. It's nothing like his, but a similar voice, and we kind of have a similar writing style. But other than that, he was 6'2", I'm 5'7", and he was way better looking, and had a way better voice, and I've got a totally different presence. There's nothing about me trying to be Johnny Cash by any means. There'll only be one man in black. But I hope that they enjoy what I do when they come, and if they don't, I'm still going to do it anyway. So, and Way is, I think, pretty much the same way.
Most definitely, and we can certainly appreciate that, and we definitely look forward to the shows that are coming up, and we'll make sure that everybody knows to check out those dates. What else is coming up for you within the next year, music-wise?
Oh, the next year. Wow. We're working on the second album, and we've got shows booked out. As far as I know, from what they only tell me very little because they know I don't need to know. I just need to know where to be. Otherwise, the world's worse at forgetting or whatever. But We're right now we're booked up through June or July. I think July, maybe even August. So we got a lot of touring going on. Really trying to promote this album. At the same time, we're working on the second album, and we spent last year getting the right band together, and we did. We got a band of brothers now that my band's tight as they can possibly be, and a bunch of great guys, and so that we spent last year doing that, really getting tight, and this year we're just going around making friends and planting seeds, and it's just I'm hoping 2019 is just a fantastic year for 2020. I want to make 2020 the year that we look back and go, wow, we worked really hard, and now look at all these people that we know and are in contact with and know what we're about. It's for me, it's really the connection. I spent so much time in a cell, in a hole with no connection at all, basically dead to the world. Because that's what you have to do in prison is pretty much just kill yourself off because you don't exist out there. I spent so much time alone. For me, the connection now that I have with all these people is really what's driving me and keeping me alive, keeping me sober, keeping me clean, keeping me happy. Is this connection that I've now got with these. I meet some of the most wonderful people on the road. It's fantastic. We went to Ireland and toured the whole country of Ireland. I've made more friends in that month than I think I have in the last 20 years. It's fantastic.
Well, you are certainly an inspiration having come through the struggles that you've had and now doing everything that you're doing in music. What advice would you share to other brothers and sisters right now out there that might be going through a similar struggle?
I I had gotten to the point where I gave up. Nothing was happening for me, and I had locked myself in a motel room and was going to drink myself to death. I had enough drugs to help along with that, and I had given up. And I don't mean to preach to anybody about anything, but I had a moment of clarity. I hit my knees and asked. I said, you know what, God, if you want me to go, if you want me to end this, then let that happen now. Otherwise, let something profound come along and just absolutely change this direction, And I got back up, went back about my drinking and drugging, kind of forgot about it. And I got a phone call from out of nowhere that sent my life in a totally different direction. You got to have faith. You got to have the willpower. You got to have the strength to deal with it when it comes your way. And when it comes, do everything to make sure you're grateful for it every day, and to keep pushing harder. That one day, the next day, just keep pushing harder, and harder. And it really does just turn out like, people that think it's just opportunity knock someday or whatever. That's not the case. It's a matter of divine intervention and spirit, being spiritually correct, being morally correct, doing people right, and just having no bad karma. All those things mixed in one, And for the first time ever, that's where I'm at, And it just gets better every day. But you can't give up. And whatever your dream is, I don't care if it's being a mason or a framer or a musician, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Be the best at what you're going to be the best at. Put your best foot forward and have faith. Always have faith, man. Give back and stay positive. Everything you do the next positive thing.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice. I really, really do think those are some words to live by.
It's all about, staying, the universe, it's staying right with the universe. It really is. And it might sound nuts to some people, but there's a plan. And you can either be a part of that and you can be in sync with the universe, or you can be out of sync and nothing in your life will ever go right.
That's very true. Very true. Now, talk to me about where people can find your music, where they can find out more and more about what you're doing musically for dates. Where can we check you out at?
All right. Well, the album is called Long Way Home. It's on all the outlets, I got mine on. I've got Amazon Prime. I got mine off Amazon Prime, believe it or not. But Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, all those. Um, or you can go to thomasgabriel.com. Real simply, all lower caps, thomasgabriel.com. And then we've got the fan page on Facebook and Instagram, which I've just now started looking at because I didn't know about the Instagram thing. I'm not tech savvy at all, but we're all over the place. It's just you got to look, you got to pay attention. But yeah, go to Amazon or CD Baby. CD Baby's got us. It's all over. So any questions, go to thomasgabriel.com or RMHC Industries, and that's us.
Most definitely. Well, it sounds like you've got a big year coming up in 2019, even 2020. So we're really excited to see that, excited to see the show dates coming up with Way and your own individual tour as well. And make sure that we share out all the information on where everybody can find your music as well as they can hear it here on the River Bottom Radio Show. We'll make sure we get a couple songs out there for you.
Yeah, great. Well, I appreciate that.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners today?
Feedback. I love feedback. I love people tell me what they think, getting the album and, listening to every song and saying, tell me what they think. I enjoy that more than you can imagine. I get feedback every day, all day, and that's the thing I look for. When I get on my email or whatever, the only thing I look for anymore is feedback. So I really enjoy it. So if anybody's got any for me, make sure you give it, and I'll always take it in consideration.
Most definitely. Well, it's been a pleasure to speak with you today, and look forward to everything that's coming up.
Hey, thank you. I've enjoyed it.